Khans of Tarkir is a Magic, the Gathering block consisting of Khans of Tarkir, Fate Reforged, and Dragons of Tarkir. The block's setting is based on a mix of cultures of Central and East Asia. It is the last block to have 3 expansion sets. Storyline: the plane of Tarkir was once dominated by dragons, but in a massive war over 1,000 years ago, humans succeeded at wiping them out. Today Tarkir is a battle-torn realm where 5 clans feud for supremacy. As presented in Khans of Tarkir, the 5 clans focus on wedges, or sets of 3 colors that are rooted in 2 colors and 1 enemy color across from it. Each wedge is the colors of a clan of warriors that venerate a certain quality of the dragon, and an anatomical feature that represents it. The clans also make use of the morph mechanic, returning from the onslaught block, which allows creatures to be cast face down as 2 halves creatures and turned right side up for additional cost, and occasionally additional benefit. This magic is described as being an invention of the extinct dragons, now adapted to human needs. The clans, and their khans, are as follows. The Abzen houses see endurance as the most important quality of the dragon, and use the scale to show that. Their mechanic is Outlast, which allows them to permanently strengthen themselves by tapping. The clan is led by an offenser, called the Foremost, known for leading from the front. The Jiskaiway prefer the cunning nature of the dragon, and represent themselves with the eye. In Khans of Tarkir, the clan is led by Narset. Their mechanic is Prowess, which gives creatures temporary bonuses every time the player casts a non-creature spell. They are led by Narset, the Enlightened Master, who speaks of other worlds than Tarkir alone. The Sultai brood make themselves ruthless like the dragon, and see the fang as its most ruthless part. Their mechanic is Delve, which allows the player to lessen the mana costs of spells by exiling cards from the graveyard. They are led by Sidisi, Brood Tyrant, a powerful Naga necromancer who considers herself queen of the clan. The Madhya Horde views speed as the greatest aspect, and use the wings to represent that. Their mechanic is Raid, which provides bonuses if the player attacked this turn. In Khans of Tarkir, the clan is led by Zero Helmsmasher, a savage orc who has a vendetta against Sarkhanvol. The Temur Frontier believe in the dragon's savagery, and use the claw as their symbol. Their mechanic is Ferocious, which provides bonuses if the player controls at least 1 creature with 4 power or greater. In Khans of Tarkir, the clan is led by Surak Dragonclaw, a mighty man known for punching a bear. Tarkir is the birthplace of the dragon-worshipping planeswalker Sarkhanvol, first introduced in Shards of Alera. At the beginning of the Khans set, Sarkhan returns to Tarkir and learns that the extinction of Tarkir's dragons was linked to one specific event. Some 1,000 years ago, there was an epic battle between 2 dragon planeswalkers, Nicol Bolas, one of the greatest manipulators in the multiverse, and Ujin the spirit dragon, who helped trap the Eldrazi on Zendikar. Sarkhan resolves to travel back in time and alter Tarkir's fate. His travels in the Tarkir of 1,280 years ago are chronicled in the set Fate Reforged. He finds a world where the 5 human clans do not fight each other, instead fending off constant attacks from Tarkir's many dragons. The clans still model themselves on a particular quality, which is epitomized by a legendary dragon creature whom each clan reveres and strives to emulate. The set focuses more on the color at the center of each wedge and its ally, with the enemy color given very little presence. The dragons who serve as the inspiration for each clan have their own watermarks, which are modified versions of the clan sigil. Additionally, Morph is missing. Instead, a mechanic which is described as being Morph's precursor, Manifest, allows players to put any card face down as a 2 halves creature, and flip them again only if their obverse was creatures to begin with. The Abzen houses are led by Dagatar the Adamant, an aloof and analytical leader. They revere Dromoka, the Eternal. In the past, their mechanic is Bolster, which lets players strengthen the weakest of their creatures. The Jiskaiway are led by Shuyan, the Silent Tempest, who seeks to preserve knowledge. They revere Ojutai, Soul of Winter. They retain the Prowess mechanic. The Sultai brood are led by Tarzagan, the Golden Fang, an indolent and spoiled prince. They revere Silumga, the Drifting Death. They retain the Delve mechanic. The Mardur Horde are led by Ailshir, who smiles at death, a transgender warrior who managed to negotiate a position as equals for her clan. They revere Kholagan, the Storm's Fury. In the past, their mechanic is Dash, which allows players to cast creatures at reduced mana cost, but with the added corollary that the creature returns to hand at the end of the turn. The team of Frontier are led by Yasova Dragonclaw, Sarkhanvol's first friend in the past, who dreams of a world where the humans of Tarkir are no longer prey to dragons. They revere Atarka, World Render. They retain the Ferocious mechanic. Sarkhanvol is successful at preventing Ujin's death, though Ujin is forced to retreat into a hibernative state to recuperate. Satisfied, Sarkhan travels back into the present day. But the Tarkir he finds, as chronicled in Dragons of Tarkir, is drastically changed. The eponymous dragons, no longer extinct, have proliferated, and are now on the verge of wiping out all other life. In particular, the 5 god dragons worshipped by the clans are now the leaders of those clans, with the human characters who led them in the original timeline serving in other roles. In this new future, each of the clans focuses on allied pairs, with the enemy colors of the original wedges abandoned entirely. Likewise, each clan retains the modified watermark of their Dragon Lords, first introduced in the previous set. Morph returns as Megamorph. The two mechanics are identical except that creatures with Megamorph gain a +1/+1 counter when flipped. Dragons also creates the peculiar structure of Tarkir block drafts. Fate Reforged is designed to be drafted with either dragons or Khans, but the two large sets, representing alternate timelines, are not intended to be drafted together. To that end, Dragons retains the 2 altered clan mechanics from FRF and replaces the 3 that remained. The Dromoka brood is what the Abzen houses have become. Dragonlord Dromoka leads and they retain the bolster mechanic from Fate Reforged. Anafenza, no longer their leader, was martyred for apostatic religious beliefs, but lives on as a ghost associated with a spirit tree. The Ojutai brood is what the Jiskaiway have become. Dragonlord Ojutai leads and their mechanic, new to the Tarkir block but returning from Rise of the Eldrazi, is Rebound, which lets spells reoccur at the beginning of the player's next turn. Narset, their former leader, has ignited her Planeswalker Spark, and is one of the 2 Planeswalkers in the set. The Silumga brood is what the Sultai brood have become. Dragonlord Silumga leads and their mechanic is Exploit. When a creature with Exploit enters the battlefield, the player may sacrifice a pre-existing creature to gain extra benefits from the exploiting creature. Their former leader, Sidisi, exists as an undead thrall to Silumga. The Kholagan brood is what the Mardur Horde have become. Dragonlord Kholagan leads and they retain the dash mechanic from Fate Reforged. Their former leader, Zero, has been reduced to a mere ceremonial bell ringer, and is often bullied by his clan. The Atarka brood is what the team of Frontier have become. Dragonlord Atarka leads and their mechanic is Formidable, which provides bonuses if the controlling player controls with total power 8 or higher. Surak, their former leader, serves as the brood's hunt caller, in charge of feeding Atarka and renowned for punching a dragon. Mechanics, Khans of Tarkir features a number of new mechanics as well as 2 returning mechanics, Prowess, an ability that gives the creature +1/+1 until end of turn when non-creature spells are cast by their controller. This is the Jeskai mechanic. Raid, an ability that activates if a creature is summoned after creatures attack in a player's second main phase. This is the Mardur mechanic. Outlast, allows players to place counters on creatures as a sorcery. This is the Abzen mechanic. Ferocious, allows players to do different effects when they control a creature with power 4 or greater. This is the Teemo mechanic. Delve, allows players to exile cards from the graveyard to reduce casting cost, similar to how the Convoke ability uses tapped creatures. This is the Sultai mechanic. Morph, allows players to disguise the identities of their creatures by casting them face down on the battlefield as a 2/2 colorless creature, which can be flipped up at any time by paying its morph cost. All clans can have this mechanic. Fate Reforged features 3 new mechanics, with Prowess, Ferocious, and Delve returning from Khans of Tarkir. Bolster, an ability where players choose the creature with the least toughness that they control, and put +1/+1 counters on it for the bolster number. This is the new Abzan mechanic. Dash, an ability where you may cast a spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and is returned to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This is the new Mudir mechanic. Manifest, take the top card of your library and place it face down as a 2/2 colorless creature. If it's a creature card, you may pay its mana cost to turn it face up. All clans can have this mechanic. Dragons of Tarkir features 4 new mechanics, with Bolster and Dash returning from Fate Reforged. Rebound, an ability to cast an additional copy of a spell during your next upkeep. This is the new Jeskai mechanic. Megamorph, an ability to have creatures who morph unmorph with an extra +1/+1 counter. All clans have this mechanic. Formidable, an ability that allows you to do something if the total of power among creatures you control is 8 or greater. This is the new Temur ability. Exploit, an ability that grants you an additional bonus if you sacrifice a creature upon a card with Exploit entering the battlefield. Differences from other blocks. According to Mark Rosewater, there is something that people have been asking us to do for quite a while that we unregistered trademark finally bringing back after a long absence in Magic, and Theory unregistered trademark something that people have been asking us to do that we have never done that for the first time we unregistered trademark redoing in Khans of Tarkir, meaning the return of the keyword morph, and creating a set themed around wedges, respectively. In addition, allied fetch lands were reprinted, after originally being seen in Onslaught. In addition, Wizards of the Coast will be debuting a new 2-set block system following the conclusion of Khans, making this the last one to have the traditional 3-set system. See also, Shards of Alera, an earlier block that focused on allied 3-color combinations, the counterpart of Khans of Tarkir. References